Let us begin this historical journey by discussing the Soviet Union, which was once the largest communist country in the world. This nation was established in 1922 and managed to control a vast territory stretching from Eastern Europe to Central Asia. However, their power collapsed, and the country broke apart in 1991. The main causes were a ruined economy, reforms by Gorbachev, and the emergence of independence movements in every republic. As a result, the Soviet Union fractured into 15 new countries, including Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Moldova, and others on that list. Next, there is Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia used to be a federal state in the Balkans consisting of various ethnicities and religions. They were established in 1945 after the end of the Second World War. Unfortunately, this country broke apart in the early 90s due to ethnic conflicts and heating nationalism. This split birthed 7 new countries: Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Slovenia, North Macedonia, Montenegro, and also Kosovo, whose status is still debated. We turn our attention to Czechoslovakia. Formerly, Czechoslovakia was a democratic country formed after the First World War ended. However, they finally separated in 1993 peacefully through a political agreement. The reason for this separation was a difference in economic vision and national identity. Ultimately, the Czech Republic stood alone and Slovakia stood alone, an event widely known as the Velvet Divorce. Then there is the story of Korea. Korea was once a single country colonized by Japan until 1945. However, they were split in 1948 as a result of the Cold War. The Soviet Union supported North Korea, while the United States supported South Korea. This situation triggered the Korean War conflict, which lasted from 1950 to 1953. The war ended without an official peace treaty, and until now they remain two completely different countries, where North Korea adopts communism and South Korea adopts capitalism. The next story comes from Vietnam. Vietnam was once colonized by the French, then after the First Indochina War, the territory was split in two in 1954. Just like the case in Korea, North Vietnam followed communism, while South Vietnam followed capitalism with support from the United States. This triggered the Vietnam War, which lasted for 20 years, from 1955 to 1975. Finally, the country was reunited by North Vietnam in 1976 and became the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Shifting to Europe, there is Germany. Germany was once united, but then broke apart after the Second World War in 1949, having previously been under Nazi rule. They split due to ideological differences, where the German territory was divided by the Allies. West Germany was controlled by the United States, Britain, and France, while East Germany belonged to the Soviet Union. They finally united again in 1990, following the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War. The reunification of Germany became a symbol of the end of the global ideological conflict between the West versus the East. Next, we look to South Asia, specifically Pakistan. Pakistan experienced a split in 1971. This split occurred due to economic and political discrimination against the East Pakistan region, which we now know as Bangladesh. This discrimination was carried out by the central government located in West Pakistan. Finally, after the Bangladesh War of Independence, which was assisted by India, East Pakistan officially became independent as the country of Bangladesh. The birth of this nation made relations between Pakistan and India even hotter. Meanwhile, in Africa, there is Sudan. Sudan split in 2011 due to a long conflict between the northern region, which is majority Arab Muslim, and the southern region, which is majority non-Muslim African or Christian. The main conflict revolved around discrimination and the division of oil resources. Because of this, they held a peaceful referendum, where the majority of the people of South Sudan chose to be independent. As an impact, Sudan lost many oil fields, and internal conflict still continues in both countries. Let us discuss the situation between China and Taiwan. China and Taiwan split in 1949 due to a civil war between the communists led by Mao Zedong and the nationalists led by Chiang Kai-shek. After suffering defeat, the nationalists fled to Taiwan. Regarding its status now, China considers Taiwan as part of their territory, but Taiwan has its own government and functions like an independent country. As an impact, to this day, this matter remains a hot global issue regarding sovereignty and geopolitical conflict between China and Taiwan. Returning to Africa, there are Ethiopia and Eritrea. The relationship between Ethiopia and Eritrea broke because Eritrea declared independence in 1993. This split happened because Eritrea was formerly annexed by Ethiopia, which triggered a long war and a strong desire from the Eritrean people to be independent themselves. This separation occurred after going through war and a referendum, so Eritrea officially became independent. Consequently, relations between the two countries briefly improved, but also often heated up again, and border conflicts continue to be a problem between Ethiopia and Eritrea. The next story is about Malaya. Malaya was initially known as the Federation of Malaya, which gained independence from the British in 1957. Then, in 1963, Malaysia was formed, which was a combination of Malaya, Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore. However, Singapore finally exited Malaysia in 1965 due to political conflicts and racial issues. The result is that now they are two different countries, namely Malaysia and Singapore. We turn to the American continent, specifically the United States. The United States was once torn apart in a civil war that lasted from 1861 to 1865. Initially, they split into 11 southern states that separated themselves and formed an American confederation named the Confederate States. The cause of this split was disputes regarding slavery and state rights. Finally, after the southern side lost, the territory rejoined the United States. Although they were united again, the social effects were felt for quite a long time before they could truly merge. Returning to European history, there is Austria-Hungary. Austria-Hungary was originally a large empire in Central Europe, which was a combination of two kingdoms, the Kingdom of Austria and the Kingdom of Hungary. They split after losing in the First World War in 1918. This defeat caused the empire to disband. The result was the birth of new countries such as Austria, Hungary, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Slovenia, as well as parts of territories that became parts of Poland, Romania, Serbia, and Ukraine. A similar fate was also experienced by the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire originally controlled a very vast territory from Eastern Europe to the Middle East. Eventually, this Ottoman Empire broke apart after losing in the First World War in 1918, and its territory was seized and divided up. This event birthed countries such as Turkey, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, Saudi Arabia, and so forth. Now we look at the history of India and Pakistan. India was originally colonized by the British, then granted the right to independence in 1947. However, they split due to religious conflict. Consequently, the Indian territory was divided into two, namely India, which is majority Hindu, and Pakistan, which is majority Muslim. As discussed previously, Pakistan then split again in 1971 into Pakistan and Bangladesh. Next is the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom was formed from the union of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Scotland itself has been joined since 1707. However, because there was a strong movement from some Scottish people to separate themselves, an independence referendum was held in 2014. The result was that 55% of the people there chose to remain in the United Kingdom. Although the status currently is not yet split, this issue continues to live on, especially after the United Kingdom exited the European Union, or what is called Brexit, whereas Scotland preferred to remain in the European Union. Finally, let us discuss Indonesia and East Timor. East Timor was formerly colonized by the Portuguese. After gaining independence from Portugal, this territory briefly joined Indonesia in 1976 as the 27th province. However, a very long conflict occurred there, and finally in 1999, a referendum was held under UN supervision, where the majority of the people of East Timor chose to be independent. The result was that East Timor officially became independent and became its own country named Timor-Leste in 2002. We are determined here to become the first educational channel to reach 10 million subscribers, and we also invite your friends to learn in a way that is easy to understand and also fun.